Hello and welcome to our show, Awakening, on the WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. I'm Tina Huggins, your divorce coach specialist and restorative mediator, and this is Joe Huggins.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. So our topic today is raising kids with a narcissist. And I personally can't say that I have firsthand experience of that, although Joe does. I do have experience coming in from working with my clients and the things that they've gone through or going through in the process of going through the divorce and then being on the other side and having to co-parent with a narcissist. So tonight, we've got a series of stories and things that we're going to tell you. And of course, at the end, I'm hoping that I get to share some information with you. Reach forward and grab this real quick. That can help you in the process of dealing with a narcissist yourself. And let me get here. So, Joe, there's all kinds of stuff that you and I've talked about over the last week. Joe's actually the one that picked this topic to talk about tonight. And so one of the first things at the top of my list that you told me was the family meetings.
Mm-hmm. So my ex was all about rules, lots of rules. And to me, that was overwhelming just to even know part of them, let alone if you're a kid and you got to abide by this and this and this and this. My rule of thumb was behave yourself. That's pretty general. And you really don't have to beat it into the kids. I didn't have to beat it into my kids. We never went crossways on any job. That it was just me and the kids, and I took them on work all the time at all ages from 5 years old and on up. So, but we did great. We had a good time and we got a lot of work done. But at home, it's a whole different story because you have this narcissist that you can't make happy, and they're just gonna, I don't know if they think the rules are gonna make them happy or what. Now I think they just like to be in control. That's what it boils down to.
It is a control thing.
Yep. So yeah, we'd have family meetings, and of course they were about rules. and it's just, to me, it's setting up kids to go, okay, kids, this is the time you misbehave and cause a ruckus, because it was so structured, and to me it was a joke, and maybe they felt what I felt about it, thinking back on it. And one time one of the kids got out of line, and they were saying something and not taking it seriously, and my ex, my now ex, she says, smack them, and I go, no, I'm not going to smack them. It was just ridiculous rules, expectations, so lots of expectations when, well, the family meetings, and there's way more topics than that on expectations, like her standards. We're supposed to be the superior clean of all cleans. And she lives.
I've seen pictures of that house.
And she's a hoarder.
Obviously, she didn't do any of the cleaning.
No. Now, she can have expectations of other people, like her kids, to clean and keep it clean. But for herself, she falls really short. Like, it should be condemned short.
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. So.
I've been in hoarders' houses where I think a mat should be thrown in. That's kind of the pictures. And they were recent pictures within the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And just a mess. And then to hear you talk about her standards of cleaning, and yet she lives in that's a mentality. I have learned that a lot of narcissistic people, or people with the mental conditions of narcissism, all have a hoarder issue. I have seen it several times throughout my coaching practice with different clients. And so that's something that that I'm now discovering in my work that it's a normal kind of thing that we see hoarding aspects. And as I learned years back, that hoarders do that for protection. They do that because something happened in their life and all the stuff. They don't want to get rid of anything. And then they buy more and bring more. I've seen them where they order box after box after box from the Amazon stores and never even open them. They just have boxes everywhere through the house. But something happened in their life that all this stuff helps them feel protected. And you know, you talk about family meetings. I know my family growing up, the only family meeting we ever heard was on the Brady Bunch. That's how old I am. And then, you know, I raised 2 children. I know you had 6, and maybe it's because you have lots of kids and you need meetings, but
No,
I never had meetings. I never even knew they were real.
you could have a productive meeting. So just to throw meetings out the window, you know, no, if you have productive ones and good ones instead of just all about the rules, then yeah, more power to
Yeah,
you.
I mean, we met with my grandparents on several occasions, and in those things, we were talking about their end of life and their choices and things like that. So yeah, we've had those kinds of meetings, but not with my kids. So, and I think you covered rules, which is the next thing. Now, in the rules, I know that there was rules, we've talked about this over the years. There's rules that she had for laundry.
Yeah. That caused a lot of issues because all the kids didn't have to live by the same rules. So there's chaos right there. It's
There were
unfair.
6 kids.
Yeah, it's just more chaos. So I think they're all about chaos. That's how their mind works, and so the more chaos, the better for them. But it tortures the kids, tortures me.
So what about the laundry rules? What were some of the laundry rules?
So if you go down to use the washing machine and the washing machine's full, and whoever put them in there, it doesn't matter. And if you want to use it, you got to take out their clothes, put them in the dryer, put the dryer on, and when the dryer's done with the other person's clothes, you're supposed to fold them neatly and put them on the dryer. Well, okay, that's fine and dandy if everybody does that. Of course, everybody didn't have to do that because she had different rules for different kids. So it was very unfair. And I remember my oldest daughter saying, rebuttaling on that to her about how unfair it was. And they got in some big argument. And I remember it escalated in about 10 seconds to, okay, young lady, you got a week of being grounded. But mom, okay, you got 2 weeks. And then it's just all frustration. And then she is up to a month in a matter of seconds. And then with the same daughter, there's another situation. Well, then I didn't finish the story, but she ended up kicking a hole in the drywall, and it was a huge hole.
Your daughter did.
My daughter did. Yeah, because it's so unfair. And just because the rules didn't apply to other people and they applied to her, so she felt like Cinderella. Like, oh, it's always a punishment for me. When's it going to be fair for me? Well, good luck with being fair, because I never found fairness in that relationship either. So she acted out, and I thought hey, you torture kids like that, they're gonna lash out. And other than that, if they go inside themselves, and either way, it's just not going to be productive. So,
and then another one I have listed here is packing of lunches.
no.
You've told me a story about that.
So, if one of the kids wanted to pack their own lunch, guess what? They had to pack 5 more lunches per rules, the X's rules. So none of the kids wanted to pack a total of 6 lunches, because that's hard to do. But if one kid wants to pack their own lunch, let them pack their own lunch. But the X had the rule that you pack your lunch, you're going to pack 5 more lunches. So
So
that didn't
if
go
they
over
didn't
good.
pack their lunch, then who packed it for them?
So that's another story is um, a lot of times they took popcorn and it was just microwave popcorn. And then the school called and said, this ain't cool. This is not nutritious and that kind of stuff, which I totally agree. It's not. So, but we did have a lot of chimichangas and that kind of stuff, but you get tired of chimichangas for months on end and that kind of thing. So I remember the popcorn deal and, um, I felt like I had, well, I mean, I could say 3 jobs. One is trying to keep the kids in order and having them do work when they're at home, because I don't know what she did when I was gone working and she was a stay-at-home person. Um, I don't know. I think she was on the computer all day, honestly.
Well,
The house was a wreck.
and as the sideline, I have to point out that you don't know what she did at home. These are
No.
your viewpoints
Right,
of what she may have done.
right,
So you don't really know what she did. I mean, things aren't always visible. I know when you got home, the house was still messy and
right. I know
and
what
things
she
like that.
didn't do. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what she did. So another one of the things that's on there is, and we've talked about this, her cleaning standards. And I've seen pictures of the house. And so her standards for the kids to clean was different than how her standards for herself to clean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just kind of going through that.
Reiterating there.
And then I've heard stories of the kids standing in corners.
So when I'd go to work, which were long days, sometimes I'd get snippets on what went on. And the kids would be like, I had to stand in the corner for 8 hours today. And she had them holding books like this, and if they dropped the books a little bit, then they had more time. So, I mean, I wasn't part of that punishment because I don't agree with that, of course. And it was sick, a lot of sick stuff.
And I've heard stories from the kids, and it is sick.
Yeah.
So, and then there was a contractor that, I mean, so let's back up and why the contractor got in. So somehow your house caught fire or smoke.
That's another story. It was an accidental fire.
Okay.
But yeah, we hired a contractor to come in and help. And of course I helped him when I wasn't at work and weekends and that kind of stuff. So he enlightened me when I got home from work and in private, and he said, Joe, you need to know what's going on when you're at work. And I'm like, what's going on? And he said, the kids are screaming and she's punishing them and it just sounds horrible. And so he it wasn't just a one time and done, so him and I decided to get a recorder. So I bought a recorder and he recorded it, and there was a lot of screaming, and I don't believe she was like smacking him, beating him, but I just remember the kids screaming a lot. And honestly, I did block that out of my mind. So I'm going on a memory from a memory, not a total. My brain won't let me go back there.
So, and to let you guys know, our audience, so I met Joe about 6.5 years ago. And back then, some of his memory was fresh. And so he would tell me stories back then. And over the time, he's literally forgotten some of the stories that he's told me. I have talked with some of the kids. They've told me their sides of stories and things that happened with them. And when I bring them up, then I'm able to help him go through some of the memory, because I'm writing a book about abuse. And then we have set his book about his life living with a narcissist back on the back burner right now, finishing my book, and then we'll start on his book. But it'll be important for him to retell these stories. And so over time, I've tried to help him. But I can tell you, through my episodes in my life, through the things that I've been through, and I'm not just talking in my marriage, I'm talking when I was younger, that some of those things has caused me to have lapse of memory, great lapse of memory, to the point that when I finally got out of my marriage, my oldest son said, "My God, Mom, it took you forever. You should have got out a long time ago." And he recounted fight after fight after fight. I didn't know that we were fighting that much. So back to your stories. And so the contractor recorded things, you have that recording. So you had that, and you didn't choose to follow suit with that. And from communication with you, it was because you were afraid of losing the kids and then not being
Right.
there to be the buffer, which is my next prompt here is you felt like you were in the middle of everything.
Well, I had a severe fear of losing my kids because somehow social services was called. They came out to the house, so they had come out like once or twice a week, meet with the kids, play with the kids, get a feel for what's going on. And they did this for, I don't know, like a summer or something. And after a while, they drop your case if they think you're not a high liability. So that's what happened. And I don't know if it was a family member or a friend that reported us. And when I say us, it was from
your
her,
family.
it was from her actions, you know. And you know what? If I had to do over again, I would get legal help and that kind of stuff. So
Yes, and we'll talk about that at
I
the
worked
end.
on fear, and fear guided me to, I don't want to lose my kids, so I got to keep it hush hush. So I'll bet that happens quite often. You just be quiet and you're afraid.
Mm-hmm. And Joe is what I would call a simple man. I've worked with lots of simple people. In other words, that he didn't have a lot of influence from all over every type of job or field. He was very good at flooring. He excellent at numbers. My goodness, he is excellent. He can walk into your house because he did flooring for so long. He can tell you about how many square feet is in your whole house and about how much flooring you would need for your whole house just by looking at it. He also has an excellent memory. He will talk with a client over the phone. They'll say something about their address and he'll say, "Oh yeah, you had 2 dogs, 4 kids, and we put this flooring in there." And he would remember that from years prior.
That's my connection.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter the person that you are as the empath, the person that has been chosen to be a victim of a toxic person. It's they will get you to believe their narrative. That's their gaslighting, that you're unintelligent, that they can take your kids away from you. And so that's what happened with Joe. And then talk about.
Do you want to elaborate? I think we should elaborate on when you said that's what happened to Joe, meaning the social services didn't take my kids away.
Social services
but
didn't.
but the ex actually did take my kids to South Dakota and entered them in the
She was there
elementary.
for a couple of months.
And I think a couple months.
Okay.
I think and again, my memory thing is, but at least a couple months. And we lived in Colorado, so Colorado to South Dakota, that's quite a journey. And to be without my kids, of course, I was distraught. And so that's what Tina meant by,
yeah, she got you convinced.
She took my kids away.
Yeah, she got you convinced that she could take and did.
And she did. Yeah. And so
and I know you had said something about this a minute ago about your ex telling you to punish one of the kids at a meeting, but she told you that more than once, didn't she?
Well, she wanted more. She liked the idea of punishment. She liked severe punishment.
And so what did she consider severe punishment?
Well, slap them in the face to me, that's pretty severe to slap somebody in the face, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I refused to do it.
Hmm.
I was burned out from her control, and that was the beginning of the end of our relationship, is when I stood up and just said, no, I'm not going to do that, you know.
And another one of our prompts here is about the kids being told to clean up the room. This is going back to the way that she believed they should clean and then cleaning the room. So
Well, so when one of the people are a hoarder, the mom or the dad, in this situation it was the mom. She was a hoarder, so she didn't let the kids throw away stuff. So how do you clean your room with all this garbage? So actually, you become a pretty good sneak. If you want to survive, you got to sneak. So we would sneak, and this is with the kids' help too, because we tried to survive. We needed to survive. So we would, put stuff in garbage bags and sneak them out the door, put them in the garbage trailer. And I remember one time I had the trailer like half full, and I was going to the landfill, and the ex runs out the house, the front door, when I'm going down the driveway to look in the trailer to see what I'm throwing away. That's how attached they are of junk. And so, but anyways, with my kids, their whole room would be, I swear, 6 inches deep and all wall to wall of crap, whatever,
so I'm assuming
garbage,
crap is their toys,
toys, old toys,
clothes.
broken stuff, pieces of parts of this, that, and the other.
Was there actual trash?
Oh, there is actual
Was
trash.
there food?
Some food.
And
Yeah.
so she she was okay with the food and the trash being in the room?
Well, that we could throw away,
Okay.
the food. And so to make it less overwhelming for the kids, because sometimes we'd have 2 or 3 kids in one room before the remodel, I'd make a 2 or 3 piles. Then they could go. I go, okay, you get this pile, you get this pile, you get this pile, and then it was less overwhelming instead of looking at a whole room going, where
Where
do
do
you
I
start?
start? Yeah.
So
So would she allow you to do that with the kids? I mean,
yeah,
that was
she
just
was doing something else in the house, and I'd make them their piles, and then I'd get the newspaper and lay on the bed and read the newspaper while the kids were sorting through the piles.
yeah. And then we talked about the rules again, and there was a story about one of the kids at Christmas time not being allowed to watch the movie with the rest of the siblings. Why was that?
So it was a minor violation, whatever one of my sons did. I don't remember, and it wasn't a big deal, but he lost by his mom said, you don't have movie privileges. Well, this is Christmas time. This is family movie night for the Christmas. This comes around once a year. And so here's where the sneak part comes in, is I left the door to the kitchenette in the basement open so my son could watch from outside in the wintertime. Sorry. And he was in a window well watching the Christmas program through the door I left open. And to him, that was better than missing the movie. And it's sad,
That is so
very
sad.
sad.
So, and I know that your ex had trouble with your second son. And so there was a calf story, a story about a baby cow, a calf story. So
Right.
what happened with that?
So if he is here, he could fill you in on the details. I know from the outside because I was at work quite often. But there was he bought a calf. It was at the house, and my ex did not want the calf there. So she took the calf, put a sign on the calf, and it had my son's name and his phone number. And she let the calf out the front door, or out the front yard, and animal control came by, picked it up, took it to the livestock commission, which they sell animals, and said, your animal is out here. And so he did not, he, he sold, actually what he did, I couldn't remember, it's a little foggy, but he went and picked up, I went with him, we picked up the calves, plural, and then we sold them independently instead of the livestock commission out there. So I did help him with that. I did even help him get the calves. I mean, he wanted calves, so he found them. I went and helped him get them. I'm a promoter of fun things like that, but she's a buzzkill.
Okay, and then this story, this one as a mom sickened me. So it's an insurance story about the second child.
Yeah, so the second child got in a vehicle accident, and he had insurance, and my ex was the guru of insurance and the paperwork and that kind of stuff, and she never filed the insurance thing so he could be covered. So he was independently, and he was I think 17, he right around 17 years old. So he ended up with, and I'm going to take an educated guess, it's probably 50 grand or something like that he had to pay back. Here's a 17-year-old,
Yeah.
because his mom didn't hand in the insurance papers and file the claim. So he worked his butt off to try to pay, and he'd go into the hospital with a couple $1,000, and then 500, and they'd say, he'd ask them, so how much do I owe? And they never could tell him the balance, because there's this doctor and that doctor and this and that, so there's so many facets, you're always getting bills, so they could never tell him. He gave up after a while, he really worked hard, and then somehow the hospital absorbed the bills. That was the
From a
first time.
17-year-old
Yeah.
kid.
And she's going to teach him a lesson at 17. It's so,
yeah.
and that
As a
was
mom,
just,
I find that one to
well,
be
that was the first one.
appalling.
She did that to another one of my sons, and it was $1,500, and he was about the same age, about 17-ish, and she didn't file the insurance thing. This is her job. She's at home all day long. I'm out busting my butt. She could do the insurance. She signs up for the insurance, but she's the ruler. If she thinks it's legitimate under her ruling, she'll file the insurance papers. If she doesn't agree with it, you're not getting
As
along
long
with
as
her, then
she would get the money. And I only know this story because I happen to do the books I happen to be a paper investigator for his attorney during his divorce. And so I got to go through all of the paper, and she filed insurance, anything that she could get that would come to her. She didn't cash anything because she didn't want him to benefit from any of it being marital, but she would do that. And so when it come to the kids, and part of this is stories from the kids, that she just said, that's your punishment. And as a mom, I could not have done that.
It's burying a kid with punishment. And the second time it happened, I actually went out and helped cut trees and that kind of stuff with him, because he was getting paid by somebody to pay his doctor bill, his hospital bill. So I'd go out for X amount of hours per day and be there and help him cut trees and thin them out. And he got that paid because it was $1,500. And
okay, so we're gonna kind of shift because I want to make sure that we're leaving time for some of these. So there's a couple of stories, and I'm not really sure whether they blend together or not. No, I guess not. But anyways, tell me the story about the lotion story.
Okay, so I'm a hands-on dad. Any of my kids could tell you that. And what I mean by that is, if they have a chapped face, chapped hands, and that's all I'm talking about, that those two things, I'd go in and put lotion on them after they go to bed. and put lotion on their little face and their hands and then leave the bedroom. Well, after we went through the divorce thing, of course, I'm not living there anymore. And I'll just say she has more control over the girls without me there. So she tried to twist their minds into going to them, don't you remember your dad coming in the bedroom with lotion and putting it all over your body? And they'd say, no, we didn't. And thank God they were smart enough and strong-willed enough to say, no, he didn't. But, she tried to, if they would have said, yeah, they remember that, somehow through the twisting of it, I could be in jail.
Yeah, and then this one I had a hard time wrapping my head around. So the rape story.
Okay. So my ex, when I lived there at the house and we slept in the same bed and that kind of stuff. So this is a little bit hard to tell. But she wanted to get me for whatever she could get me for. Like if it was embezzlement of money of my own business,
Which the lawyer told you
can't embezzle from yourself. So the rape thing in the ex's mind, she has to be the victim. So she looked up what rape was, and then she tells me, so when we did it the other night, you didn't verbally ask if we could do it, did you? So the only answer is no, I did not ask. Most of the time you don't say, hey, do you want to fool around? Do you
Do you want to have sex tonight?
like foreplay,
Yeah.
Touching, whatever. But yeah, so I said, no, I did not ask. And she goes, well, under this description, that is rape. If you did not get permission, that is rape. So through nights of not being able to get to sleep until I agreed with her, because we'd be up till 1:30 in the morning, and that's definitely sleep deprivation. And I remember Amy in the other room just screaming, saying, would you guys be quiet and go to sleep? Because I'm getting interrogated till I crack.
You're right.
In the other bedroom.
So, but then she went and she had you tell the kids
that I raped her.
That you in front of the kids.
In front of the kids. So I'm telling all 6 of my kids. None of them freaked out or anything like that because they know their mom.
They do. And so it's all it's all of the stuff that a narcissist will do. They try to have all this control.
To put you down.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't have firsthand information directly, but I do have a few of my clients that are going through that. One specific has been working for several years to try and get 50-50 custody. And because they haven't filed, the narcissist has control, and this is the mother. She has control and says, no, you can't do this. So my advice to you is to get things in motion. So I've got one last story for you. So there was a friend of mine that she sought coaching from a police officer to help her get her children out of the abusive home. She was a nurse. She worked in one state and they lived in another, but she was in the state she worked in more than 50% of the time, so she could claim residency in that state. So a judge got involved, a police officer got involved, and this took months of setting into motion where she had to allow the abuse to happen to her children while she recorded. Not that she didn't, because he would beat her too if she got in the middle of it, but she had to record this. For months, she had to record this stuff. And then finally, she was able to take it to court before she left. Then she set things in motion, the exit plan. Now she has a police officer involved. She has a judge involved. Everything was set in motion months earlier. They already have all the charges ready to be filed. Everything is going to happen the day of the exit. There was a class going on that the father took the kids to, and they were all there at the class. She packed up her belongings, the kids' belongings, and then she had already pre-warned the instructors or teachers of the class that she would be by to pick up the kids to keep him company. And so she went, picked up the kids, and about the point that he was wondering where the kids were, he was arrested. Everything happened in order to get this motion in position so that she could leave. She went to the next state because that was the state she was living in. That also was a state that had better protection for her and the children. So the divorce was filed in the state that she was legally allowed to live in. So my point with you is that it's important for you to get out of the abuse for you, but it's very important for you to get out of the abuse for your children. So it's important that you document everything. If you can, record things. I know his ex had made hundreds of thousands of recordings. I know I have a handful of those recordings actually in my possession because he brought them from the home when he left. So make those recordings, get those recordings, and take pictures of everything. When you document, you want the names of the people involved, the time of day, the date that it was involved, where it was. I don't want just it was in the home, it was in the living room, it was in the bedroom, it was in the kitchen. I want you to be as specific as you can be with these recordings. Okay. I want you to double and triple save these. Okay. Whether it's recordings in paper, or if you're putting it in your computer, put them all to where you can save them in one place and then forward them to a protection email. Joe has one that's 123 protection mail, or Joe123 protection mail at gmail.com. And all of the divorce information was sent there so that nobody else could touch it. Please do that for your safety. You want to get some other people involved. You cannot do this alone. You have to have a good exit plan. You have to have it timed correctly, and you have to have other people that are willing to step up and help you protect yourself and your children. Okay. So any situation that puts you or your children in danger, call 911. Make sure that you press charges against the other one. I know that's scary. You press charges, there'll be a protection order put in place, and then you seek protection with your friends and family. And that may mean just getting extra protection from video cameras and things that are there at the home.
And
Okay?
don't drop the charges.
Don't drop the
Because
charges.
they will try to they'll romance you, they'll do whatever.
They love bomb you. They start back all over again.
Don't drop the charges.
So once you start that motion, you keep that ball moving for your safety, and I recommend a divorce coach in this situation, but not just any divorce coach, one that is trained in domestic violence, one that is trained in abusive situations. Okay. I come in from law enforcement is my background. Okay. So if you are in a domestic violence situation, call the domestic violence hotline at 1-800-799-7233. That number again is 1-800-799-7233. If you want to get a hold of myself or Joe, you can reach me at my email at coachtinalynn@gmail.com. That's CoachTinalynn@gmail.com. My website is divorcecoachspecialist.com. Please make sure that you reach out, get the support. You can't do this one alone. Do you have any other?
Yeah, the thing that I just say is don't drop the charges. I dropped the charges when she assaulted me and she was arrested, and I dropped them a little bit later. And man, she came back in with vengeance. And then that's when the cops were called on me multiple times because she said I hurt her or did this and that, which was not true. So,
my own father was in a domestic situation where not just one, but he's been involved with 3 women. And what they do is they stack up what the woman did in front of them and they use that to their benefit. They learn how to make marks on their arms where that looks like somebody grabbed them. There's special hoses and stuff that they can use for that kind of stuff, I guess. There's actually books out there, I'm told, by my male clients that their soon-to-be ex or their ex got a hold of these books and they use them. She used legal abuse by calling the cops and turning him in for DUI when he wasn't driving drunk. He was sitting in the kitchen and she went out to kick the grill in on his brand new truck. So we had to leave to get out of the way. And my dad was not an abusive man whatsoever, would never hit a woman. And he left. That leaving ended up getting him put in jail because she lied to the police officers, and he wouldn't press charges against her. And like Joe says, you got to. And once you start that ball rolling, just plug your nose and keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper. You're going to get out of this, but get support. You can't do it alone. Please get support.
Right.
Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay, well, until the next time, we wish you well. And again, please seek support.
Good night.
Thank you.